Hi, everyone. Welcome into the podcast today. I'm interviewing Dr. Justin Moseley. Him and his wife, Courtney, run a great practice outside of Nashville. But Dr. Justin had a life-changing curve, and it put him on another path in what he's been doing with helping other docs, other people in his community through podcasts, through his coaching, while still being kind of a fractional CEO for his practice. So excited to get into this episode today. Also want to tell you this episode is brought to you by one of our sponsors, Genesis Back and Neck. If you're looking to increase money in your practice without altering your practice philosophy, they've got a neat approach. Genesis Back and Neck can help you add spinal decompression clinics to your existing chiropractic office, potentially generating an additional $48,000 to $60,000 each month. From lead generation to ongoing support, Genesis does the heavy lifting so you can focus on your patients. If you're ready to learn more and start integrating this into your office, get on a call with them. Start with the email corporate@genesisback.com. Let's jump into the episode.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. Brian Capra with the UAC Best Practices Podcast. The hope is, the intention is that we give you a peek behind the curtain of UAC and see some of the members of UAC and the wealth of knowledge and information and the type of people we have in the group. And hopefully that you learn something that you can actually apply to your practice, your business, your life, and that benefits you immediately. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Alan Miner, who is going to take it away from here and make our introduction to our very special guest today.
Hey, Dr. Cap, appreciate it. And welcome into the podcast, everyone. I'm going to start with our sponsorship today, which is the Remarkable CEO podcast. And a longtime member and one of our chairmen, Dr. Stephen Franson, is behind that. Here's the ad. Feeling like you own a job rather than a business? It's time to make a change. Tune into the Remarkable CEO podcast where Dr. Stephen Franson and Dr. Pete Camiolo share actionable strategies to help you scale your practice without burning out. Learn how to build a world-class team and transition from owner-operator into a CEO. I will tell you, you can find that podcast, like it's called the Remarkable CEO podcast. A lot of good content. I'm on a lot of sales calls all day for Chiro Matchmakers. And it's amazing how many clinic owners are wanting to go into that role of CEO. So that's what that podcast is about. You got to check it out. All right, let's move on. And we've got Dr. Justin Moseley with us today. And Dr. Justin has his hands in a few things. His original day job was founding a clinic with his wife, Dr. Courtney. They're north of Nashville, Tennessee. And Dr. Justin, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you actually had a kind of good story you shared with me about how you initially stepped out of full-time practice. Would you mind sharing that to start us off with, and then tell us what that's evolved into? Because I think it's an important part of your journey.
For sure. Yeah. My wife and I were both chiropractors and opened our practice in 2012 and built a great family practice. Fast forward to 2018, life was good, serving the community, helping people. And August 2018, I went on a whitewater rafting trip on a men's retreat. Mm-hmm. It was just a freak accident. We were whitewater rafting, hit the class 5 rapids, and our raft tipped over. And I was sitting in the back of the raft, and I got trapped underneath the rapid itself. And it started pushing me underwater. And I still remember the sound of my helmet scraping down the rocks as I was being pushed under. And I got wedged between 2 rocks. And the last thing I remember thinking is, I'm not coming back up. And everything went black, and then everything went bright white. And it was the most peaceful, serene feeling I'd ever felt. And I don't know how long that lasted, how long I was unconscious, but I heard a voice that said, wake up. And thankfully I did, because I came back to consciousness, and I was trapped underwater, and I tried to push, and I didn't budge. And I kept pushing and pushing, and then finally my adrenaline kicked in, and I was able to push hard enough. I broke one of the buckles on my life jacket that was trapped underneath one of the rocks. Wow. Floated to the top, gasped for breath, got swept down the river. And at that point, I was rocked. I was like, what just happened? And we all question our purpose in life, at least at some point. Like, why are we here? Like, what is the purpose to all of this? But in that moment, I asked a different question. I said, why am I still here? Because things could have been different. Like, what if I didn't hear wake up? Or what if I wasn't strong enough to break free? So I started processing, like, why am I still here? And one of the biggest things that I got from that lesson was I had gotten comfortable in life because practice was good and finances were good and I was traveling and doing the things with my wife. But I realized if I truly wanted to step into the calling that God had on my life, I need to exchange my comfort for my calling.
Mm.
And that was a big eye opener for me of, man, God's got me here to go bigger. Yes, I'm making a difference locally. But what if I could make a difference all over the world? And I just started putting out content. And I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to listen. I'm just going to put myself out there. Stuff that's helped me, mindset, leadership, personal development. And the first of 2020, I started a Facebook group and it grew to 1,000 people in the first month. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, well, people are listening and they're wanting more. So that led to me launching mastermind retreats, mastermind groups, coaching, and then opened the door to speak all over. And it led to me doing my first TEDx talk in 2022. And then I just did a recent TED talk last year on how I overcame my fear of public speaking, which is it's about to cross 500,000 views. So I'm excited
Wow.
about that. And shout outs to Dr. Steven and Pete Camiolo. I'm a remarkable CEO client. So that's helped me transition to the CEO
Great.
role and allows the practice to flow. But that's kind of my transition in practice there.
I love it. So, you're not in the practice anymore, correct?
Nope, I'm kind of the fractional CEO, and then my wife kind of runs the show. We got some other docs in there with her.
That's awesome. And so, give us the best practice around the practice. What are you doing, especially with you maybe not being in there day to day?
Yep.
How do you stay connected? How do you bring the energy in there? What do you guys do?
Yeah, because it's all about energy management. The energy affects any business, positively or negatively. So a big game changer for us was every day at the end of shift, we share our highlights. And it's cool. It's like the last patient leaves and somebody yells highlights, and then everybody comes out. If I'm there, if I get to be there in person, I love doing it in person. But now we even have Voxer, which is voice app.
Yep.
We can give our highlights via voice text. But everybody just shares, and they end on a win. Because no matter what happens, like docs know, I mean, you could get 99 5-star reviews, but you get the one-star review, you focus on that, and it just tanks your energy. So
Yeah.
stuff like that happens throughout the shift. Maybe somebody was disgruntled and took it out on a staff member. Something happens, just ruins the energy. But when you end on a highlight, everybody starts to shift their energy. You start to feed off of other people's energy, and you're forced to think of something good, like what was really good today, and you end on that, and then your staff goes home excited. They get excited about hearing the stories and the baby got their first adjustment or the guy off his blood pressure medications, whatever it is. They get to go home they get to go on a high thinking about how great it was. They're ready to show up the next day to serve again.
And if you haven't used Voxer, it's kind of disruptive. It's like a walkie-talkie. And so
Yeah.
your phone goes wah, wah, and you kind of and you listen you hold it down and people are going back and forth. And I think that's a brilliant use of Voxer because you're right. Just like getting your head straight when you come in the morning, we all know how we have that tendency to focus on the one bad apple that day and ignore the other amazing 100 people, 50 people, whatever it was that came through. We helped, and
Yep.
I like
And,
that. That
and even
that's
if it was a
brilliant.
great
That's
day, a lot of
brilliant,
times
man.
patients are telling the doc stuff that the front desk doesn't get to hear. So, or
Yeah,
vice versa. Sometimes the front desk gets to hear all the great things that happen and they don't even tell the doc about it. So, sharing the
Yeah.
highlights, we all get to celebrate together.
First of
absolutely.
all, thank you for sharing that story. I had never heard that, so
Yeah.
that's unbelievable. So thank you for that. The other thing I'm thinking as you're saying that, with how we can apply that in my own company, it's difficult because we're fragmented. We're all over the country, right? People are remote, and it's difficult to understand what's good even happening in your own department. Let alone there's all these other departments going on. And I could see an immediate, we have our like level 10 meetings like per department, right?
Yep. Yep.
But it's really not easy to help bridge that gap for all the others, what's good
Yeah.
in each department. And sometimes one department needs more of a pickup than the other, right?
For sure. Yep.
They're going through changes and struggles and whatever. And I really appreciate that. I'm gonna see how we can get that implemented. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Dr. Justin, tell a little bit more about your coaching, your mastermind groups. Who do you attract in? Who's your avatar of your ideal client? And how is what you do different than another program somebody might be considering?
Yeah, and it's kind of came full circle. So I went with I'm not trying to coach or do any of this to
Hmm.
okay, people are here and people are monetizing this. How does this work? So I
Yeah.
started launching that. And at first I attracted a lot of chiropractors because whether it's friends or me speaking at different chiro events. I was attracting there. And then I went into corporate and I started doing a lot of corporate retreats and workshops, and then kind of came back. The last mastermind groups that I was running was all chiropractors. And it was cool to have all chiropractors together because we all share the same struggles and we know what it's like with team and staff. But lately, I just recently got rid of my last mastermind group, kind of shut it down for right now because I'm traveling so much with speaking. Speaking is kind of the main thing. And then I kind of realized, man, all the stuff I've used to build my own personal brand that's led to speaking and coaching is like, I can actually leverage that for our clinic. So I'm actually really kind of focused, okay, what's worked over here to build my personal brand, which first, everybody's got a personal brand. So if you're a doc and has a practice, if you grow your personal brand, and there's a talk that I do about turning your reputation into revenue. They did a nationwide study and they asked people, what is the most important profession to have a personal brand? And number one was they want their doctor because they want to be able to look up, who is this person I'm going to? Can I trust them? So if you have a personal brand, your personal brand is a digitization of your reputation. You know how important your reputation is in the community? Well, your online presence is a digital version of your reputation. So I built my personal brand. It was completely separate. It had nothing to do with our practice, but people in the community started noticing me and they would go into our clinic because hey, I need a chiropractor. I want to support him. I'm going to go over to his clinic. So now I'm kind of coming full circle to speaking is kind of flowing, kind of focusing on that, and then helping the clinic kind of with the social, the branding, and all that stuff now.
What's
I love it.
thing that you get, if you can kind of sum it up, when you're being asked to speak around the world or country, whatever, what's the most common topic or theme that you're getting? What are you seeing people looking for?
So a lot of mindset and leadership, because I kind of became the mindset doctor along the way. I was speaking at a mastermind retreat and some guy goes, dude, you're the mindset doctor. And I was like, hey, I like that. I'm going to roll with it. And that became the name of my podcast, which I've been able to interview some cool people. I got an interview coming out soon with Dan Martell, who wrote Buy Back Your Time, which is an awesome book. So that's allowed me to connect with really cool people and led to other opportunities as well. But a lot of times it is mindset and leadership or the personal branding side of things.
That's cool, man. What tell them about the podcast briefly. You know, there's more and more people I see in UAC that are doing a podcast, starting to monetize it, and some really impressive numbers on it. How long you been doing it? How many episodes? How do people find it? And what's been the benefits? Give some insight there.
Yeah, so I didn't start my podcast until 2023 is when it actually started. But in 2020, when I started my Facebook group, every week I showed up and did a live interview.
No.
So it was basically like a podcast just through Facebook. So every week I was showing up, interviewing a new expert. And that completely changed my life because it allowed me to connect with really cool people. And then I had people reaching out like, hey, can I be on your podcast? I'm like, I don't even really have a podcast yet. So, but they would connect me to other people and then they would see me as an authority. And the cool thing about it is people in the community, I would go out to dinner and people would come up to me and be like, hey, I saw your interview with so-and-so. I saw this. I'm like, I don't even know these people. And like, first off, and I've never seen them like anything. They don't comment on anything. People are watching. They're watching for sure. I just put a reel out of that earlier this week. But people are watching. So that's the biggest thing it's done for me. It's opened up relationships. I never would have been able to have that time with Dan Martell because you can't just get his time. But for me being able to interview him, it happened because of strategic partnerships I've created through people I connected with through the podcast. That's awesome. Mine is the Mindset Doctor podcast. Find it Spotify, Apple, wherever you want to listen to. And for me, it comes back to success leaves clues. So I just want to interview successful people, kind of show, okay, what was their journey? What were the big lessons they learned and the mindset shifts they had to make to become successful and help share it with the audience?
What have you found on the podcast? What style? How long do you interview people for? What have you found? You've done enough of these now. Somebody who's considering a chiropractor, should I start a podcast? What are just some real simple best practices you've learned from doing this now for several years?
Yeah, I think everyone should, just because it gives you a platform. And if people in the community, they start seeing you popping up on Instagram or they go to Google your website and your podcast shows up, the chiropractor down their street doesn't have that. So they just automatically, your credibility and authority raises. Yeah. So I would also do a hybrid. I would do solo episodes where you're just talking about different health things. So they see you as an expert there, but then also, especially locally, if you're wanting to expand your practice, who's the who's who in your neighborhood? who's the who's who in your town. They want to be on podcast. You bringing them on your podcast, you get to leverage their audience. I like borrowing other people's audience. I get to be on the show with you guys. There's people that never heard of me get to hear about me. That's what you can do in the community. The local fire chief, hey, go interview him. And then people that his friends will be like, who's this chiropractor you're connected to? Maybe I need to go see that chiropractor.
Yeah.
And just think of strategically, how do you leverage the who's who in your town and get them on your show?
That's genius. You know, as long as we've been doing this, I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about that podcast for the practitioner locally. So that's another gem there, Justin. Last question. We'll wrap it. UAC, you're a newer member to the group, but what's the experience been for you? Why are you a part of it? What's been the benefit?
It's been great. I think even we just came off a big quarterly meeting with our team that I helped lead with my wife, and we went back to really focusing on our core values, which is something we dove deep into in one of the mastermind events with UAC, and we didn't want it to be just words on a wall. Like, how do we truly embody these? And my wife and I spent hours like going through. We've got our core values around the word impact, and then we would look at each word from integrity is the first one, but then how do we want to define it? Well, the way we define it makes a difference too. Because each word and the way we define it creates an energy in us, and it's our energy that we evoke into the team. They're going to feed off of us. I love that quote that if you set yourself on fire, people love to come and watch you burn. So if you set yourself on fire first, you get your team on fire, then you can get your community on fire. So that was a big thing for me with UAC, that in particular, like really diving into our own core values, and then me taking that to our team and us creating our office core values. And then just the time we have with cool people, and everything's relationships. Relationships are rocket ships. And that's why I just like connecting with cool people. And same reason I do my podcast. Who is a cool person I can connect with, hear their story, learn from them. So many people in this group are doing great things. You get to learn from people that are ahead of you.
Awesome, Dr. Justin. Well, we're honored to have you as part of the group, and it's been great to get to know you. And thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been great to be a part of it, and to get to know you guys too. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
Thanks, Doc.
You too.